BBS fine yobaka bwa Uganda tugenda kwetondera olw'obutasobola kutuusako programu yaffe akalanca ebeerawo mu budde buno olw'enteekateeka ey'enjawulo eriwo ey'ekibiina ky'amawanga ey'ekibiina ekikola ku kuzimbira abantu amayumba oba ku kukyusa ku mbeera z'abantu ddala abafuna mpola nga kibazimbira amayumba okusobola okubeerako mu bulamu bweyagaza ki Habitat for Humanity ekiri ku mitendera gw'ensi yonna era twogera kiri mu mawanga agasoba mu 7 likiyamba abantu abafuna mpola okufuna amayumba ag'omulembe mwe babeera okusobola okutambuza obulungi obulamu mukiyabyeko ne mu bitundu by'eggwanga eby'enjawulo nga kiriko abantu bekizimbira amayumba okubakyusiza ku mbeera so kyategese olukuŋŋaana olw'ettaka n'amayumba okigenda okusinkanira abakulu mu gavumenti obwakabaka bwa Buganda n'ebitongole ebirala okulaba engeri gye bagenda okuyambamu abantu okukulaakulanyamu abantu ddala mu kubeera amayumba ag'omulembe ng'ate bakola ne ku nsonga z'ettaka era abakulu okuva mu gavumenti okuva mu bwakabaka n'ebitongole eby'enjawulo ebyawano e Uganda n'ebiri ku mutendera gw'ensi yonna balina olukuŋŋaana lwe balimu ku sipiikirizo oti Emunyonyo era nzikiriza negate ku munange Alex Basingo atuseeko byonna ebigenda mu maaso mu lukuŋŋaana olwo nkwagaliza ekiseera ekirungi nze Robert Nestre Kayongo.
Whom housing is a myth. They've lost the hope. They know they will never ever have it. Whether you talk to them, they will never believe that it is possible until we step out, hold their hand, walk with them. We just stop talking, but we walk the talk. There, we will plant dreams in them. We will actualize those dreams into realities. We will give those people dignity. We'll give them hope. We'll give them life. We'll give them security. Because housing means everything. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Director Dev Kayanga, Director of Housing, Ministry of Housing, Lands, Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, to make his remarks. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, our MC and body member, housing, Habitat for Humanity, Uganda. The representatives from the Kingdom of Uganda, the representatives from the Kingdom of Toro, the board members of Habitat for Humanity Uganda and the entire Habitat for Humanity fraternity, representatives of various ministries, departments and agencies of government, our lovely Nation Media Group, who has taken us to a higher level, our various stakeholders in your individual capacities, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As part of the partners in this National Housing Symposium, the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development greatly welcomes you to the World Habitat Week, which started on Monday, and by the fact that we are having this symposium on a Friday, It is by design, so that as we go into the weekend, we should be able to reflect on important housing issues. It has been highlighted and re-emphasized all over that housing is a basic need. And if you want to understand whether someone is well housed or not, this can be reflected on his or her smile in the morning, whether he has slept rough or has slept well. Indeed, as it was highlighted, Uganda as a country has quite a big housing deficit of approximately 2.4 million units. And if you talk of an average Ugandan households being composed of 4 people, we are talking of almost 10 million Ugandans. They may not necessarily be sleeping on the streets or on the village paths, but they are living in substandard housing. And definitely if you live in substandard housing, then you are prone to a number of illnesses, and most likely your life expectancy will be shortened because of the environmental conditions under which you live. The world over, the emphasis on how to address housing has been ongoing. During the World Habitat Day and Habitat Week, we are still re-echoing the need for housing, and not only the need for housing, but the need for affordable housing. You'll agree with me that despite the housing deficit, globally or nationally, we still have people who may be having more than one house which they call home. May be having people with the urban house, country house, and maybe a resort house somewhere on the beaches. What am I saying is that as we come together during this National Housing Symposium, the ministry emphasizes the multi-sectoral approach to addressing the housing question. We do agree that if we work together, government agencies, various kingdoms, real estate players, and individual people, we can play a bigger role in improving the housing situation in the country. So we do take this opportunity to emphasize that housing is not only essential to protect us from the harsh conditions, but it's a very critical area, if well addressed, can address other fundamental questions, including employment opportunities. Housing plays a critical role because of its multiplier effect, the forward and backward linkages. It has been urged that when you construct a house, a simple house, you cannot directly employ less than 4 people. But if you talk of indirectly, looking forward and looking backward, the numbers are huge. If you invest $1 in housing, it generates more than $5. And these are not figures that are being talked here, but through research and through analysis of the sector. And in Uganda alone, the housing construction, both commercial and residential, contributes 11% of the country's gross domestic product. And in actual figures, we are talking of 12.135 trillion Ugandan shillings. This shows how important this sector is to our economy. As we proceed to discuss more issues regarding this important sector, I want us to think through some of the relevant factors that may be critical in addressing housing and the affordability question. We need to look at the issue of land tenure and land acquisition. It is one of the key primary inputs into the housing delivery system, and this needs to be addressed. I'm happy to note that amidst us, we have big landlords who can help us to address this key and critical question of land tenure and land acquisition. The aspect of housing finance, especially when we come to formal housing finance, is still a bit elusive and, to say the least, are very expensive. But there are other mechanisms through which we can be able to mobilize resources, even among those who are vulnerable. This could use the SACCOs, we could use the housing cooperatives, we can use the investment clubs, and as I said earlier on, we need concerted efforts from different angles to address. Finance is very critical. The building materials supply chain needs to be addressed by all of us if we are to realize affordable housing, such that we can be able to be seen practically minding the gap and leaving no one and no place behind. But as we discuss and talk housing construction, we also need to look at the impact of this on our environment. And of course, the aspect of green building must be a part of the agenda. Our friends who are architects, who are very key in the design process of the houses we live in, should take this more seriously, so that we can be able to reduce on the energy consumption. Since we came in, of course, we have AC which is running throughout, yet in this part of the world, the temperatures are around 20, 23. But those are some of the issues we need to consider. Then the role of public-private partnerships. How do we build the partnerships that can work? Partnerships with landlords, partnerships with financiers, partnerships with policymakers, such that we can be able to deliver housing and therefore address the deficit, which seems to have been growing because of the fact that population growth is not helping us in any way possible. As part of the ministry, we welcome you to the National Housing Symposium. My colleague from Habitat for Humanity and others, we have emphasized that this will be a national housing symposium to be carried out on a yearly basis. We want it to make we want to make it big. We want to bring on board other various partners, some of which may not be here today, so that instead of working in silos and having many other meetings or conferences, we can have a big 2 days, and then we discuss, share experiences, share best practices, and see how best we can move on. So those are my few observations and remarks. I can only say that Karibu, you are welcome.
Asante Sana, Director Dev Kayangayanga from the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. It's at this opportune juncture that we just want to remind you we are actually empowering this symposium with technology, and we are streaming live. So you can go over to Facebook as well as YouTube and just type in Habitat for Humanity Uganda. You'll be able to access the stream and share it to the people that you believe should have been in this room, but they're not in this room. But nevertheless, we cannot leave anyone behind. We have to mind that gap and share that link with them. On social media, the hashtags to use are hashtag UG Housing Symposium, and then there's also another hashtag which is Habitat UG at 40. Again, this is birthed because of what Habitat for Humanity has been doing for the last 40 years. Their eyes have been opened, and what they have seen, they want to share with you and with me, so that we can be able to help them and help our Uganda become the Uganda we want to see in the next 60 years. In this past week, with the nature of my job, I've been interacting with some people, and the big question has been, what are the reflections of Uganda in the past 60 years? And many of them allude to the first 30 having been good years, simply because we were inheriting what our colonial masters had left behind, which was orderly and organized. And fortunately, they still said the last 30 years have been about distorting that organization, henceforth bringing about the inequality, henceforth bringing about a bigger and bigger gap every single day. When Isaiah was referring to the different communities, the high people, the low people, I remembered a conversation I had with Dave himself, and he was blunt to say that the reality of the matter is that housing is one of those contributors to the inequality that we face economically and socially in this country. And he said, and I quote, that we do have housing classification. If I was to ask each one of you why you built your house in the community you built it in, I'm pretty sure, as he said, shame will be upon us if we want to be honest with ourselves honestly. So Dave said that we do have housing classification, and I asked him, what do you mean? And he said, well, we do have high class, we do have middle class, and we do have the lower class. That is something that I've simply known in economics, but in housing, it really opened my eyes to see what was around me. And indeed, true to that submission, we are having housing classification. And yet, we are called to be patriotic. We are called to be brothers and sisters, one another's keepers. And that is why you are seated in this room, so that we can be able to bridge that gap and make sure that we leave no one and place behind. Allow us to take a short breather. We're going to be taking a break. Stretch your legs, interact about the things that have been submitted so far and what you can actually do to mind that gap. Thank you.
abahabitanti embeera gye bansangamu teyali nnungi. Bansanga mu nnyumba ya ttaka, ebomokabomoka, nga luumu emu mulimu abaana, kuba nze ndi mukyala atalina musajja. Nze nakyaze even Birabwa, mbeera ku kyalo Kasala, mu ggombolola y'e Kyampisi, mu disitulikiti y'e Mukono. Abahabitanti bajjanga ne batulambulangako nga ndi ne famire yange ku nnyumba. Naye kati kiri wange wennyini era nga ndi musanyufu n'abaana basanyufu nnyo nnyo nnyo, era neebaza nnyo abahabitanti omulimu gwe bakoze. Nze n'abaana bange tuwulira bulungi, kuba emabegako tetwali bulungi. Kuba kyensinga okujjukira, omwana wange omukulu yali aliyo ku sekendule, munne ne bakyankalanamukko nti ava amugamba, oyo omulabira awo ennyumba gye basulamu ewaffe tusibaamu mbuzi. Omwana adda n'aŋŋamba kyatuyisa bubi nnyo nga famire, naye kati tubadde nga twezzaamu essuubi nga tulangirira nti tujja zimbawo kalina, naye tetulina njawulo na kalina, kuba nze twalaba matiriyo gwe twalabanga eri mu banene. Ennyumba erimu amadiira 2 n'ebisenge 2. Kitegeeza nina we nsula n'abaana. Sisula n'abaana kati kuliko ekinaabiro. Nina tanka liita 3,000. Nebaza abahabitanti Uganda, Obwakabaka bwa Buganda, Housing Finance, beebale nnyo beebale ddala ekkula lino lye bankoledde. Siina kyenyinza kubawa nga nze Eva, naye mbakwasiza Mukama Katonda.
Eva's story is a touching story, and that difference, that smile, is what we want to achieve for so many other Ugandans as we are doing what we're doing here at the National Housing Symposium. Now, as we go into the tea break, there is a warm cup of tea, there is some water that is awaiting you outside there as you stretch your legs. But also as you stretch your legs, we do have exhibitors that are joining us for this symposium, and I'd like to recognize Housing Finance Bank that are exhibiting the services that they're offering and the products that they're offering for affordable housing. We do have Earth Enable that is also here to exhibit their contribution to the symposium and national housing at large. We are also having Technology for Tomorrow, and they are showing you different technology things that can be implemented in how we put up these houses. If you're telling me that in a day and era whereby everything has skyrocketed, you can get a house at 25 million shillings, which is much cheaper than what you have been doing for the 40 years, Robert, then I believe that's the power of technology. So Technology for Tomorrow will give us the guidelines into what they're using to enable better but affordable housing. We do have Cornerstone Engineering that have also been a part of the journey of Habitat for Humanity Uganda, and they've contributed immensely to so many smiles away from Nachaze's smile. You do have Real Building Clean Green Homes. You do have Shelter and Settlements Alternatives that are also partners and are here to exhibit what exactly they do, so that you have a better understanding, and maybe individually as a company you can join forces with them. Centenary Bank Uganda, thank you so much for making housing affordable, but also making sure that those that need to get land titles and are your customers are getting them conveniently with the partnerships that you have set up. Area is also on display, and they are exhibiting what they are doing best in this housing conversation. Crest Tanks, thank you so much for all the contribution that you have made to ensure that people are having clean, safe, reliable water next to these beautiful houses, and they too are exhibiting this day. Uganda Housing Cooperative Union is also on exhibition, and they're here to show you how, as a cooperative, if you set up small circles, small groups, you can actually raise the 25 million shillings that we're looking for to put up just a single unit. Rainbow International School, thank you so much for your hand in all this. They are young people, young girls that have come to let you know that they do have a habitat club for which they make contributions to the conversation that we have today. Minding the gap, leaving no one behind. Let's take a break.
Wabitanto sekwengo ayangara suaman miste keseng ban be kusut kotoja ngakote ngoketare luke yangarre kesengo kumi hotel kedano villa daute ngi siseng lapi kanya pe kumi hotel lapi wongon kede sabite lupi alo julate ngono villa lapi yare kede sabite ni yare kawla ne training ponena kene supulan asigiri asani pikopon boro kere mesan kedi chulong kakro nyara ta sengo Ageesigika awra na akuma ngama kita ngopi six apolo kyo tonere pole jawte la pera ngaya takena soman otwando to mamba ngape dor disibore kera da ngasala
members, these videos will keep playing. Certainly they will keep playing, but it's time for our break. So please feel free to step out. Let's get a cup of tea, then we'll come back. We have very interesting video clips because of the great impact, and we shall watch them as we go along. Thank you so much. Please, let's network. You never know who is here, but all of us are here, and you never know what might happen after here. The neighbor you have might be your next partner for your great next step. Thank you so much. Let's take a 15 minutes break, 15 minutes, so which means by around 10 to midday, let's be back here. Thank you.